Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel. My name is Mike. I'm continuing my Week 17 NFL previews and analysis. This video is for the game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. This game will take place in Dallas. This one of the win and you're in games in Week 17. This game for the NFC East title and also the playoff berth that goes along with it. The Cowboys, the big news from their standpoint leading up to this game is obviously the injury that's hampering quarterback Tony Romo. It looks like he won't play with that back issue. Kyle Orton will start in his spot. Kyle Orton signed a 3-year, $10.5 million contract at the beginning of 2012 to back up Tony Romo. Certainly a capable quarterback when he started for Chicago and for the Broncos. A guy who was able to move the ball on a pretty consistent basis for both teams he played for. But you have to remember, he's only taken 22 snaps here since he became a member of the Cowboys. So how long does it take him to get into the flow of the offense and of a game in general, a game at NFL regular season speed? That, I think, is going to be a huge factor in this game because the longer it takes him to get up to speed, I think it gives the Eagles offense a chance to really stake themselves to a pretty decent lead in this game. And I'm figuring that the Eagles are going to have a much better day offensively than certainly they did in Week 7 when these two teams met the first time when Dallas won 17-3 at Philly. That Eagles offense and their defense, their whole team really, has taken off since that game. And I don't see any deterrent the Cowboys defense is going to put up to really keep that from happening. I mean, if you look in the first game, what the Cowboys did was they played man on the Eagle receivers, okay, and they relied on their safeties to really neutralize LaShawn McCoy. They came down into the box, neutralized McCoy, which they did very well. But you have to remember now that Eagles defense is a lot more potent from a passing perspective than they were back in Week 7. And I worry about these Cowboys corners, okay? Now you're going to have Orlando Scandrick on Deshaun Jackson. That matchup scares me if I'm a Cowboys fan. You have this Eagles offense humming and really firing on all cylinders heading into this game. And those man-to-man matchups, if they choose to take away LaShawn McCoy with the safeties, scares me. And the opposite scares me too. If they play zone and let LaShawn McCoy roam, that scares me as well. So I think the injuries on the defensive side of the ball have really taken a toll on the Cowboys. The roster depth on their defense especially is not good. Sean Lee is going to miss this game as well. So maybe even Zach Ertz, who's really come on here in the last 6 or 7 games or so, maybe you see him get involved. So that's why I think it's important that Orton and friends on the offensive side of the ball really get going early. Because the bigger leads Philadelphia stakes themselves to, the quicker the Cowboys have to go away from DeMarco Murray. And really what they probably want to try to do is that to keep that Philly offense off the field. But that all hinges on Kyle Orton getting off to a pretty decent start and being able to move this team. Something else to monitor, too, is the health of Dez Bryant. He also had a back issue. He had to get wheelchaired off the plane when they got back to Dallas last week from Washington. So that's another thing to monitor as well. Another playmaker on Dallas banged up. Overall, I think the unit that's going to make the biggest difference in this game is, that Philly defense and how much they've improved. Even if Romo was playing in this game, I like how much this Philly defense has improved from playing against the run, which we saw them do last week against Chicago, and they're getting better in their pass defense. They're not a great pass defense team, okay, but I think they've certainly gotten a lot better since where they were at the beginning of the year. I think Chip Kelly's made a fantastic transition here to the NFL, having to deal with some pretty controversial things early on, particularly in training camp with the whole Riley Cooper situation. They've come out of that quite nicely. They're looking to put a bow on this thing with a win at Dallas, and I just look at Dallas as a team that I think they're fortunate to even get to this point. I mean, you had a team that almost lost to Washington, which as bad as they are last week, barely pulled that game out. And I think they really exhausted everything last week. You look at the injuries to Romo, you look at the injury to Sean Lee, you look at DeMarcus Ware not really playing up to the standard we're used to him playing, probably because of injuries as well. And I just think you have a Dallas team that's really limping to the finish and a Philly team that's surging. And when you combine that with a backup quarterback, I think you're going to have a big-time Philly win here. I like the Eagles -6.5 on the road in Dallas. Guys, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the YouTube comments. Hit me up on Twitter @SNewsAnalysis. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I preview every game every week. I'll be doing the playoffs as well, hitting NFL draft stuff real hard starting next week too. So be sure to subscribe. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.